My name is Heidi Johansson. I will be moderating today. And for your information, the event will be recorded, but your cameras and your names are not displayed anywhere on the screen, meaning that your personal information will not be visible at all. So before we dive into the content for today's webinar, I will quickly go through some practical information regarding GoToWebinar for the ones of you who are not used to the platform. If you have any problems with your audio or microphone, you have the audio tab on your control panel where you can check these things. We don't have a dedicated section for questions and answers, but especially for the interactive part, if you have any questions, you can either type your questions into the question box, or you can also use the raise the hand function, and then we will unmute you and you will be able to ask your questions. If you would lose connection at any point, you can also call in via phone to the event. You have the phone number here and the audio access code. This information is also in the email that was sent to you with the link through which you connected today. And then still a quick look at the agenda. So we will start with an introduction to the topic of today. And then we have 3 presentations on different solutions that have been developed by 3 different projects that will help minimizing pollution in the agri-food sector. And finally, we have an interactive part where we will be using the value chain canvas. Without any further ado, I will hand over to my project colleague, Victor Carvajal, who will be presenting the Green Growth Community and also introduce you to the topic for today's webinar. So, Victor, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Heidi, for the introduction. Can you hear me? Good?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Good,
yes.
good. So I would like to welcome everybody to this session in the frame of the European Green Week. As Heidi said, this session is called Towards Zero Pollution in the Agri-Food Sector. I'm Victor Carvajal, a member of the coordination team of the Green Growth Community. So next slide, please. Right, so let's start with a small introduction to the Green Growth Community. The Green Growth Community promotes sustainable development and the sound management of natural resources in the Euro-Mediterranean region by improving cross-sectoral innovation practices through an integrated and territory-based cooperation approach under the Interreg program. As you may see, the Union for the Mediterranean labeled the Green Growth Community in October 2019, acknowledging its potential to advance cooperation in transition to a green, inclusive and circular economy and delivering concrete benefits to the citizens of the Mediterranean region. In addition, from December 2020, the Green Growth Community was selected to be a member of the coordination group of the EU Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform. I don't know if you know this platform, but this platform is a joint initiative by the European Commission and the European Economic and Social Committee that brings together stakeholders active in the broad field of the circular economy in Europe. Next slide, please. Right, so which is our role and our goals? The role of the community is to assist the project in their communication and capitalization efforts in order to reach their influence at the policy level and guarantee the potential transfer and replication of the results to other territories. But okay, how we do that? First of all, we promote a more innovative and environmental friendly business sector by transferring knowledge and results from projects. For example, training, business forums, learning visits, etc. And secondly, we mainstream circular economy into policies at a regional level. For example, carrying out stakeholder engagement workshops at the Mediterranean level, contributing to the UFM Agenda 2030 for a greener Med and the UFM Task Force on Environment and Climate Change, and at EU level, participating, as I said, as a coordination member of the EU Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform. So, the Green Growth Community has its ultimate goal in promoting, activating, and supporting the implementation of a green and circular economy at territorial level. If you want to check our outputs, such as, I don't know, like policy recommendations, catalog of the project results, etc., here you have the link, and also it will be shared, or it's already shared in the chat. Next slide, please. Right, so the Green Growth community is a big community that connects 165 partners from 13 countries in the Euro-Mediterranean region with a total budget of 30 million. Specifically, the Green Growth community gathers 14 projects funded by the Interreg PEFMED program. What is important here is to note that these projects have different thematics and backgrounds. So the Green Growth community is divided in 4 focus areas. We have food systems, waste management, smart cities, and eco-innovation. For the purpose of this session, which, as you may know, is agri-food sector, we will be focusing only on food systems and waste management areas. Next slide, please. Right. Having presented the community and our background, we are going to go a bit deeper in the context of agri-food sector and its pollution in order to link it to the Green Growth community, as it is the scope of this session. So let's start with some figures and key facts in the agri-food sector. Over the last decade, the unsustainability of the current economic model based on the so-called take, make, dispose paradigm has emerged. In particular, the agri-food sector has been severely affected by such problems as resource scarcity and food loss and waste generation along the supply chain. So, globally, we have that 50% of the global habitable land is used for agriculture. 26% of the global greenhouse emissions are accounted for food production. 78% of global ocean and freshwater eutrophication is caused by agriculture. 94% of mammal biomass, excluding humans, of course, is livestock. In Europe, the situation is also alarming. 42% of the land is used for agriculture. 10% of the greenhouse emissions comes from agriculture, and nearly 70% of those come from the animal sector. In 2030, it is projected that more than 50% of expansion of agricultural land for a number of regions in southern and southeastern Europe. 20% of the food produced in Europe is wasted, and 37% of all the food sold in Europe is wrapped in plastic. Next slide, please. Right. So these figures and numbers are a bit alarming. So the sector must face several challenges in the next future. In this case, the new Green Deal is showing the path to tackle most of these issues. From one side, we have the Zero Pollution Action Plan, which looks to improve the air quality to enhance human health and also ecosystem and biodiversity, also to improve water quality by reducing waste, plastic litter, and microplastic released into the environment, also to improve soil quality by reducing nutrient losses and chemical pesticides, and finally to reduce waste generation and residual municipal waste. From the other side, the Farm to Fork strategy pursues stimulating sustainable practices in food processing, wholesale, retail, hospitality, and food services by promoting sustainable food consumption and facilitating the shift to a healthy and sustainable diet. Next slide, please. Right, so the future and the present. The European transition to sustainable food system has started in many areas, but a lot still needs to be done across the entire value chain, from the production, packaging, and transportation to the food consumption patterns. Resource efficiency and innovative technology needs to be considered in order to reduce food and waste lost along the supply chain and provide opportunities for promoting the transition towards a more sustainable performance, let's call it zero pollution, and an economically viable future. For example, create value, new jobs, and promote local businesses. Food suppliers such as farmers, processors, transporters, retailers, food service providers can increase their productivity by reducing food loss and waste, and they may also improve their reputation when these actions are considered. Next slide, please. Right, so here we have the Green Growth community contributions to the agri-food value chain. As you may notice, the value chain here is circular, and we have, if you can see here the labels, we have inside this value chain, we have primary production, manufacturing and packaging, distribution, retail, consumers, and waste valorization. And we have distributed different green growth community projects along the entire value chain, with some of them are tackling the inorganic material flow, and some of them the organic material flow in different colors. You can see it here in the graph. For the purpose of this session, we are going to be focusing in 3 cases: PEFMED, REINWASTE, and RE-LIVE WASTE projects. As you may see, each project is related to one or more than one specific step of the value chain. For example, PEFMED could be related to design, manufacturing, and packaging, REINWASTE to manufacturing and packaging, and RE-LIVE WASTE to waste valorization. Each of these projects will provide more insights in specific solutions and best practices that will help to transition to a more sustainable future. Next slide, please. All right, the last part of this session, as Heidi said before, comprises an interactive practical case. In particular, the value chain for a cheese. This session will be conducted by the Green Growth Community Partner Evolve using Mural tool that is on the right side of the slide. You can see it. Maybe you can click the next slide, please. Right, because I put some animations that how it works. You can click another time if you want. Right, yeah. You can see that the tool works with post-its. Okay, and exactly. And the aim of this part is to apply the knowledge acquired during this session, or new ideas, of course, regarding solutions and best practices in order to improve the entire value chain. Don't worry, because more information will be provided later on. This is just to familiarize a bit yourself with the tool and the exercise. So next slide, I think that is, yeah, exactly, the last animation. All right, so thank you very much. And I think that I'm gonna leave the floor for the next speaker and hope you enjoy the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Victor. Yeah, so that provided us a great starting point. So we know now a little bit the background, what the problems in the agri-food sector are, and now we will look to then more the solution part. So for the first speaker, we have Fotini Salta from the Federation of Hellenic Food Industries in Greece, who will be presenting the PEFMED project and what they have been working on. So Fotini, please go ahead.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you for the invitation to participate in this very important event. Today, I'm going to present you the PEFMED project in which we have tested the PEF methodology developed from the European Commission. Next slide, please. But firstly, let me tell you a few things about the European food and drink industry. Food and drink is Europe's largest manufacturing sector, generating millions of jobs and playing an integral part in driving the EU economy. Its turnover is 1.2 trillion. Its value added is 1.9% of the EU gross value added. It employs more than 4.8 million people. The companies are more than 290,000, and it exports more than 120 billion euros. In our sector, there is an increased awareness on sustainability criteria, and more specifically on the environmental impact caused by current consumption and production models. At the same time, several standards and eco-labels have been developed for assessing the environmental performance of the project, and the proliferation of all these initiatives has created confusion and mistrust of environmental information among consumers, and it requests a lot of resources from the companies. Next slide, please. So we have developed the PEFMED project in which we have tested the PEF methodology developed by European Commission. Next slide, please. In 2013 for the product environmental footprint method. This method aims to support the development of environmentally friendly products to be sold on the European market and to promote competitiveness among companies. PEFMED aims to test the PEF compliance distance to target in 9 testimonial med agri-food clusters and supply chains upon a range of products. Next slide, please. So we have developed a model of collaboration among federations, more specifically 6 federations, 9 companies and their supply chains. We had cheese, meat, bottled water, olive oil, wine. We had 8 environmental experts and 9 N3 managers and regional authorities. So this is the model of collaboration we have created. Next slide, please. In this model, the federations identified the sectors, the products, the companies, and the environmental experts. The companies provided the necessary resources and for the collection of the required data for the pilot testing. The environmental experts performed the pilot testing in collaboration with the companies, and the S3 managers provided an overview of the available socio-economic policy tools for the implementation of the eco-innovation by companies. Next slide, please. In PEFMED, we have developed a series of results. First, we have developed the PEFMED method, which combines PEF with a set of socio-economic indicators and a series of tools consisting of info sheets, PEF assessment and simplified tools for olive oil, wine, and bottled water, socio-economic KPIs and tools, technical and policy papers. All these tools can be found in the project wiki platform. Next slide, please. But beyond from these very tangible results, the sector has also a lot of achievements and gains from this project. More specifically, next slide, please. It was the first time that an EU methodology was tested at an early stage and before release to the market. And the sector had the chance to make proposals and recommendations for its improvement. Also, the pilot tests are real case studies where the methodology was applied mainly to products which was very significant for its geographical region. And for the majority of all these products, the methodology was applied for first time. Next slide, please. The food companies had the chance to be familiar with a new EU methodology and to get benefit of the real application of it. Also, we had the chance to explore, to give to products new marketing capacity by exploiting their environmental performance. The companies evaluated the strengths and the weaknesses of their product systems and highlighted possible future improvements and needs. We had the chance to improve the methodology by providing specific recommendations and proposals for the PEFCRs. And also we had the chance to improve the preparation of the food companies for the new landscape, which will be developed if the single market for green products will be applied. Next slide, please. We have showed that PEF can be a powerful diagnostic tool for companies and can lead to several advantages since it provides a global overview of the production system and enables the identification of environmental hotspots. It allows the measurement, improvement, and communication of all relevant environmental impact categories of a product, supports comparability among products of the same category, contributes to the development of a common framework to harmonize available environmental methodologies, encourages the better cooperation of the supply chain players, and if the improvement solutions identified are implemented, it can allow the reduction of some of the most significant impacts on the use of resources and the emissions of pollutants in the environment. Finally, it can support the realization of circular economy actions. Next slide, please. But also have been identified shortcomings and gaps in the methodology. The application was really difficult, at times consuming, especially for SMEs. A robust expertise and practice on both PEF and agri-food sector was required. There a lack of in a set of data, especially from suppliers and of secondary data for some regions were identified. And PEFCRs should take into consideration the individuality of each product group. Next slide, please. And I'm going to give you an example about how we perform the PEF methodology in feta cheese. As you may know, the majority of dairy products in Europe is developed with cow milk, but there is a significant number of traditional products based on sheep and goat milk. The PEF of feta cheese, which is a cheese produced from sheep and goat milk, was estimated based on the guidelines for dairy products produced with cow milk. As you can imagine, a lot of assumptions have to be made about issues for which there was no guidelines, or we didn't know how to handle some issues. And this means that not properly substantiated estimates of various environmental impact category indicators have been done. For the PEF study of feta cheese, guidelines for sheep and goat food, food production chains proposed to be developed in order to get a reliable and representative PEF of this product category. And for the estimation of PEF traditional products which are not fit to the guidelines proposed by EC, initiatives have to be taken at a regional level to avoid dissimilarities in the comparison on the PEF results of these products with the EU benchmark of relevant projects. So PEF methodology has to be, a lot of improvements have to be done in order to fit also in this kind of products like feta cheese. Next slide, please. Closing, even though PEF was found to be complex to be used by companies and its application framework is still uncertain, it remains a very powerful diagnostic tool which can help to increase the product's environmental performance. 4 main needs have to be highlighted from the project pilots for a wider use of the PEF method. Final PEF CRs have to guarantee comparability and equal opportunities to all European products. Simplified tools for PEF applications for all stakeholders have to be developed. Availability of data sets specific for the Mediterranean area are necessary, and better integration of the socioeconomic indicators is also needed. Next slide, please. So, the PEFMED approach can lower the sector's environmental and social economic impact and improve the company's response to consumers' needs, expand the market for green products, and circulate economy initiatives. All this, if PEF finds its road to market, we believe that it substantially can contribute to the decrease of pollution as well. So thank you very much for your attention, and I give the floor to the next speakers.
Okay, thank you, Fotini. Very great overview of the PEFMED project and how the PEF method has been tested and used in different pilots. For next speaker, we have Antonia Gobacho from the Andalusia Agency for Agriculture and Fisheries Development. She represents the REINWASTE project and will be presenting different innovative solutions for zero inorganic waste production in the agri-food chain. So Antonia, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Heidi. And thank you to the organizer for inviting us. Good morning to everybody. I work, as Heidi said, in AGAPA, a public agency attached to the regional government of Andalusia. We have been the coordinators of REINWASTE projects, and with us, it has been a consortium where universities, innovation centers, federations of industries and association of producers, more public agencies has been represented. I think it has been a really innovative consortium, and the results obtained have been really interesting for us. I hope it will be also interesting for you. The objective of my presentation will be to show an overview of the project. We will explain how we have been working and what are the main results. Anyway, I encourage you to visit our website, or you can find more information. Next slide, please. So this is the scenario. From one side, we can see some of the consequences of the bad management of the bad waste management. On the other side, we can see the excessive amount of plastic and waste that we all generate every day. So this is the problem that REINWASTE want to tackle. Next slide, please. Why REINWASTE? So to combat the phenomenon, REINWASTE has been working, finding and testing the best advanced solution in inorganic waste in 3 European value chain. We have been working with the production and the industry sector, but not with the consumers. The 3 value chain were the horticultural sector in Andalusia, in the south of Spain, the meat sector in the Sud-Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur in France, and the dairy sector in Emilia-Romagna region in Italy. Next slide, please. So these were the objectives of REINWASTE. First of all, we wanted to contribute to the inorganic waste reduction, but from the source. We think that prevention is the best way to solve this problem. Another objective was to overcome the lack of knowledge of the best available technologies and solutions, and the diversity and fragmentation of waste prevention procedures. Third, we want to implement specific pilot projects to test on the spot the solutions, involving a pool of collaborating companies, both, as I said before, in the agriculture and the food industry. And finally, strengthen the interaction between clusters. Next slide, please. So these were the challenges in terms of pollution. This is the case of the waste in the protected horticultural sector. We did the same with the meat and the dairy sector. In Andalusia, we have around 35,000 hectares of greenhouses. The 90% is in the Almería province. And we generate around 91,000 tons of inorganic waste every year. This waste, this material, are used to cover plastic or disinfection fine plastic, and the material are around a 40% metal and near 40% low density polyethylene. As we can see in the graphic, although the majority of the residues, the waste are organic residues, the 92%, only a 6% is inorganic waste. We have a big problem because all the waste, organic and inorganic, are mixed. So it's quite difficult to manage it. So next slide, please. So this is the methodology. The core of the project was the testing. So we initially worked with 90 companies, 45 farmers, and 45 industries. They were selected through an open competition. All of them received advice to identify and prioritize challenges and critical points. They receive recommendations for innovative solutions. The advice was provided by experts that were also selected through an open call. After this phase, the most appropriate pilot actions to be implemented in the most receptive companies and most able to introduce innovative solutions were identified. We did this work through Open Innovation Labs. We test new materials, strategies, technologies, software tools, and ICT device. As you can see, we work in all this methodology with farmers and industries. With the results, we elaborate pilot action fact sheets that you can find in our website. We analyze also the feasibility from a technical, social, financial, and environmental point of view. Next slide, please. These are the pilots. This is the production sector in the horticulture farms. From one side, we have the biodegradable and compostable twin we call raffia. This is the material that we use to support the plant in the greenhouses, and these are the main problem with the mix of organic and inorganic waste. It's quite difficult to separate it from the plant. So with this raffia, we can solve this problem because it can be mixed and managed with the organic waste. Another pilot was about different models for waste management at associate level. Another pilot was a tool for the improvement, a software tool, sorry, to improve the traceability of waste management. Another pilot was with mulching film. This film also is at this moment a big problem because it's really slim and has not price. So companies that need to manage the waste have not interest in it. So we test different biodegradable and compostable mulching. And finally, another test was the gasification of difficult managed waste. Next slide, please. This is the pilot in the meat dairy sectors. We test in farms bio-based compostable alternatives for round bale string, and also strategic solution to improve the recycling process rates. In the dairy farms, we test eco-design and new techniques for conventional HDPE round bale nets, and also eco-designing and new techniques for conventional plastic silage film. Next slide, please. In the industry, we test also several solutions. This is the horticultural industry. We test biodegradable plastic trays, also logistic optimization of primary, secondary packaging, redesign a new material from primary packaging, eco-design using compostable materials, and sustainable packaging for good-made products. I must say that some of these solutions were cheaper than the conventional ones. Next slide, please. These are the pilots in the meat industry. We test final packaging waste reduction with neat technology without skeleton, also monomaterial packaging, recovery optimization of post-consumer packaging, and pre-cooked ready meal packaging waste reduction. And also there was a pilot with technology optimization. Next slide, please. These are the pilots in the dairy sector, the industry, lightweight in plastic film for packaging, compostable pots replacements, adoption of non-destructive online control of packaged products, compostable trays with eco-design, and the replacement of compostable material packaging with monomaterial. Next slide, please. And this is the conclusions in relation with the availability of the innovative solutions. Although we found solution and innovation that are ready for the market, there is insufficient technological process equipment development. There is also unsatisfactory performance of some of the sustainable material we have been testing. So it is necessary to a higher research and development investment, mainly to lower the prices, because the new solutions are in the most of the cases more expensive than the traditional ones. In relation with the agent for the production and industry value chain, there is some low and medium knowledge in relation with alternative technologies and material. So it is very important to continue with the training and to work in the awareness activities. And it is important also to say that there is a medium and high predisposition to implement innovative alternatives. So it is a strong point. And in relation with the public administrations, there is a necessity of an homogeneous and complete legal framework about new material and processes. In relation with the policies of waste management, it is necessary to include the whole value chain involvement. And of course, it is necessary to continue working in the improvement of the rate of recycling, recovery, and reuse. Next slide, please. So this is all from my side. Thank you so much for the attention, and please visit our website where you can find more information about all the pilots. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Antonia. Very interesting to take part of these solutions you've been testing. Very different ones, I must say. Now we are done with the first part of this session. Now we will move on to the interactive part. So I will hand over the floor to my colleagues from Revolve, and they will explain to you a bit more how we will be doing this interactive part. So Patricia and Marta, you can take over.
Thank you, Heidi, and thank you everyone for the insightful presentations. I think someone from the team will be sharing the exercise shortly. Let me know when you can see the screen. Perfect. Okay. So just as a brief introduction, my name is Patricia Carbonell, and I'm the project manager at Revolve, which is a communication agency based in Barcelona. And we're also a communication lead for the Green Growth community. So over the past year, we have seen the emergence of loads of collaborative communication tools that allow us to co-create online, given the current circumstances, and find creative ways and innovative solutions that we can apply to our own organizations. So today we are using one of them, and it's called Mural, a collaborative tool that is presented as a big canvas that allow us to brainstorm around a given topic. You can find the link to Mural in the chat. So you can log in as a visitor, and you will be able to see the exercise that we have prepared for today's session. So I will encourage you to look into the chat for the link. And when you are in the canvas, I will explain you how everything is going to work. As you can see in the screen, hopefully in your computers as well, you can have it opened on your computer. We are going to explore the value chain canvas. But before we jump into the scope of the exercise, I would like to give you some guidance on how to use this platform in case you have not used it before. It's very intuitive. And as you can see here, the interesting functionalities of Mural is that you can zoom in to see details, and you can zoom out to see the big picture. And to get started, if you have it in front of you, check your zoom settings. They are at the bottom right corner. Yes, you can go down below. So you can actually move around, click and drag with the hand to move around the canvas. You can drag content from the sidebar on the left-hand side. And in this case, we are only going to use sticky notes. You can also double click into the canvas to add a sticky note. It's very simple. This is the basic functionality that we will be using today, just moving around the canvas, zooming in, zooming out, and adding sticky notes. Here, when you zoom out, you can see the full value chain canvas. And this is a tool that it's designed by Circulab. And it's an open source tool for everyone to use and adapt as long as it's credited, as we have done, Circulab Toolbox. So you can actually use it for your own purposes. But today, we chose an example, putting hard cheese from cow milk as a product to be analyzed throughout the whole value chain. So the objective of this exercise is to better understand an entire value chain from a holistic perspective. I think it's been very interesting to hear from the experts around the specific case studies from the projects from the community, but it's also interesting to zoom out and actually realize about the big picture of all the different steps that a product needs to follow to arrive to the consumer and restart again the process. So this is what we are gonna deep dive today. We are gonna explore the different steps of the circular value chain. This will allow us to take a snapshot going beyond the direct economic or environmental aspects, but actually integrating the notion of system functions and loop the value cycles. That's why we are taking the example of the circular economy steps, which they are 8 of them that you can see here in the legend that we have placed in one of the corners of this canvas. So you can always refer to this to understand and identify the different steps of the value chain. The Canva contains what we consider those main steps of any value chain in the circular economy, and it's essentially all the steps in which we have added value from extraction to final delivery of the product. So here you can see that design in the canvas, design is at the center. Then we see primary production, which in this case, of course, refers to the raw materials that we need to produce the cheese, raw milk. Then we go into manufacturing, packaging, distribution, retail, consumer, and waste valorization. You can see the 8 steps in circular flow, so restarts the flow. Underneath the graphic that we just showed, you can see 2 types of stickers. The green stickers refer to the steps of each stage of the value chain. This is only the steps that we need to follow across the value chains, and we have added some examples for you to drag and drop into the canvas. And the second one refers, the purple ones, refer to the resources needed for each step. So we are gonna only take 2 elements of the value chain, which are the steps and the resources. And we have also included some examples for you to copy paste so you can drag it into the specific stage. If you have new ideas or new resources or steps that you want to introduce, just double click and you can add new sticky notes. So this way we can map all of the elements that we want to consider across the value chains of this given product, which will be cheese. So once again, the main concept here is to consider the overall system to help decision making. I think once we see the bigger pictures of all the key steps and resources of a value chain, we can then identify what are the risks, what are the opportunities, what are the gaps that we have not taken into account. And in this case, it's about it's cheese, because we wanted to put an example that kind of tackles what in the green growth community we are doing. But it could be anything. It could be your product or your service at the organization, so you can adapt it and take it into account for your next improvements or considerations in your business. And this can be applied to different targets. In this case, we are taking a company that produces cheese to spot the risk or vulnerabilities, opportunities for innovation, but it can be applied for entrepreneurs, for educational purposes, to analyze the life cycle of a product, or to municipalities, to federate organizations of the territory in the value chains and find synergies. So I think the interesting factor of this is that we can apply it in the multi-stakeholder approach, which is something that at the green growth community is very important, to consider the different actors that actually influence the value chain of any product. So I'm going to stop here for a second. Before we move on, I would like to ask you if you have any questions, any technical questions, or any questions about how do we want to play around this, because at the end of the day, we want to brainstorm together and have like a collaborative canvas for us to think about what could be those ideas that we could place in the different stages of the value chain.
Yes, so if you have any questions, feel free to either ask them in the question box, or you can also raise your hand if it's something you would like to ask in person.
Yeah, if you want to use any of the examples that we put next to the green stick note and the purple one, copy paste, so we can leave them there, but also include it in the different stages of the value chain. If you want to add a new one, you can double click and add your new sticky note as you want. This is free for everyone to share ideas and to co-create. It might be easy for you to think about your own maybe company, but try to reflect it in a given product like cheese, and let's play around this. We have around 20 minutes to give it a think, to digest all the information that you have here, and to start playing around with the platform and including ideas that we can digest lately. Any comments or ideas, feel free to share in the chat or speak here.
We have a question that I suppose is for this exercise, asking if planning or monitoring is part of the process.
Definitely. Actually, we included some generic examples like organizational culture or operational management, but definitely this is something that we can go into more concrete details and add it in the stages that you think that is key to keep into account. So yes, monitoring, evaluating, planning, and how we do that, no, as a key step in the process. As I said, this goes beyond environment or economic levels. The parameters expand to any step that we need to consider at the value chain. Sometimes we miss some, so it's important to visualize them. There's a lot of resources that we use as well to produce any product that sometimes are hidden in the processes. This is good that I'm seeing that a lot of you are playing around with it, and there's so many interesting nodes across the value chain. So the floor is open for you to share any insights or experiences that might link to your own value chain in your organization, or if you want to comment on the exercise and what it's emerging here, feel free to talk. This is to collaborate between all of us.
Yeah, so for any experiences or yeah, anything you would like to share, you can use the raise the hand function. Then I will give you the floor so you can speak. You can of course also share it in the questions box, and we can share it with, we can read it out and share it with the rest of the participants. We have actually a participant who would like to maybe share an experience or something. So Alia, I will unmute you. You can ask your question or share whatever you would like to share with the rest of us. Alia, you need to unmute yourself.
Apologies, I was only looking around to see how I can join the circular because I joined very late, but if it's too late, don't worry about it. Apologies.
You wanted to still join the exercise?
If it's not too late, but if it's too late, then that's fine.
You can still have a look at it if you want. I have shared the link in the chat, so you can find it there. As we still have our speakers as well with us, so if you have any questions to the speakers, you can also take this opportunity to ask them anything you were wondering from their presentations.
Hello everyone, it's Marce Boy speaking, the coordinator of the Green Growth Community, and I would like to thank you all the participants in filling in this mural. It's pretty impressive, all the sustainable steps and the key resources that we need in each step of the value chain. So we can see here that there are many options to improve the sustainability of agri-food products. And I would like to remark that all actors can have their implications or can put their efforts in doing this value chain more sustainable. So we consider first public administrations as playing a key role in providing financial resources, but as well on promoting and incentivizing sustainable products. On the other side, academia and research centers can also provide innovation and knowledge on how to improve these processes to reduce the emissions and to reduce pollution overall, meaning water pollution, soil pollution, and air pollution. On the other side, SMEs and businesses overall also play an important role in taking up this knowledge and innovations and using them in their manufacturing processes. So they consider these criteria in order to make their businesses greener. And finally, we don't need to forget our role as consumers, as society, in order to change our behavior in consumption and to think what products we are buying when we go to the market, for instance, and opt for these products that are local and more sustainable. So we support all these local economies and sustainable businesses. So we can all join efforts in promoting greener and circular regions. And overall, we are working in the Mediterranean, but all these practices can be applied anywhere. So it's very nice to see that there's so much to do and so many things that are already being done, and we are moving in the right direction. So I would like to invite anyone to give also their opinions, their comments, their experiences. So do not hesitate to write on the chat and ask for the microphone. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Merce. I just want to also mention a few key takeaways when doing these kind of exercises that sometimes is challenging, but I see that you have been very, very active, including these sticky notes here. It's like a design thinking exercise for us to get more familiarized with this, to actually map things and see them from the bigger pictures, because this requires a strong commitment to sustainability. The criteria requires a kind of visionary leadership, organizational-wide action and commitment, and alignment of sustainability effort, both for profitability and to competitive advantage, especially in these kind of sectors that is so competitive in terms of the economic perspective and the quality. We need to really evaluate what is at stake to then make the better decisions at all levels throughout the value chain. So by understanding and identifying these elements like resources and steps and stakeholders involved, we can then make better decisions or implement step-by-step better business practices that can improve operational efficiencies and company performance at the end of the day. It's kind of having it more structured. So all efforts are well received, of course, always considering the context of market conditions of the given product or services. That's very important. Of course, in this case, we focused it on the Mediterranean region, which still is very broad and big. We can always narrow down to the local level and trying to implement, the more sustainable and fair practices for our closest stakeholders. So at the end of the day, this exercise is meant to improve our company's carbon footprint, which is the focus of today's webinar, trying to go to zero pollution in the agri-food sector and improve the quality of life in the communities in which operates. So I think it's important to, as it was previously mentioned, to consider a carbon reduction strategy and how we are going to get there. How do we align efforts from across the value chain to improve processes, be more efficient, cost saving, that at the end of the day can lead to wide results at organization level. So I think it's a good first step to map things, to analyze them, and then to be able to make decisions collaboratively. And of course, this implies establishing new systems or transforming the ones we have at the moment. And of course, that also implies, transforming or adapting or changing regulations to constantly assess and monitor the progress towards these carbon reduction goals that we've got and we need to address across the whole world. So, well, I hope that this was useful to start working towards a circular economy approach, transformations in the systems design, which is what we are aiming to do here, to bring a holistic approach that tackles everything from our corporate values to our strategies, to our profits at the end of the day, to continue doing the good things. And that comes in hand with environmental and sustainable strategies and efforts. So thank you very much, and I'll pass it over to Heidi. If no one else wants to share any experiences or thoughts or ideas in how this can be helpful as well in other areas.
Yes, so I suppose that we are then reaching the end of the event, as you've been now filling in the mural for the past minutes very actively. So yeah, I think we can then start closing. I would like to thank all of our speakers firstly for the great presentations. It's been very interesting to look at the different solutions on how we can all contribute to minimizing pollution in the agri-food sector. And of course, also thank all the participants for your great contribution to the exercise. We will now, of course, internally within the project see how we can share the results and like the summary of this event to you in the best way. But when you signed up to the event, you also were able to pick whether you want any further contact or information from our side. So we have your contact information with your consent, so we will be then sharing it with you that way. Yeah, and also, of course, follow us on our social media channels. There you will get all the latest updates on our activities and results and what we are working on. And of course, also visit the website. There you also find all the relevant information on the green growth community and its activities. So yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you for your great participation, and hope to see you soon again at one of our future events. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.